Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. He's the Article 3 Project founder. Go to article3project.org. It's Mike Davis. Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
You knew that he was coming out of the box fast. You knew he was coming out hot, all gas, no brakes. I get it. But like this? Mike, did you think he could do this much in 3 weeks?
I am very pleasantly surprised. And I will say this, we shouldn't be surprised because the first time President Trump was elected to office, he had never run for office. He had never been in office. It was his first time ever. And he made personnel mistakes in his first term. And he's had 4 years out of office to think about what he did right and what he did wrong. And he was ready to govern on day one this time. He has excellent personnel. He's making great personnel announcements, and he is implementing exactly what he told the American people he would do. And the American people gave him a broad electoral mandate, 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states. They want President Trump to bring bold reforms to Washington.
You know, the left in this country seems to be really harping on the fact that there's some enemies list that Kash Patel has, or that Donald Trump wants to get revenge. None of that's true. All they're literally doing is saying, did Jack Smith break the law? Did Merrick Garland break the law? Did Letitia James break the law? Did Fenny Willis break the law? I mean, and if they did, they should be called to account. So the idea that if he goes after anybody that did all this lawfare against him is somehow revenge is all wet by the law, right?
That's exactly right. First of all, I would say retribution is a very important part of justice. It helps the victims and it deters future criminal behavior, but we're not supposed to talk about retribution. So we're supposed to talk about how this is accountability and justice. And I would say to these Democrat operatives who ran this Republican-ending lawfare and election interference against President Trump, his top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro who went to prison, his supporters on January 6th, who were politically persecuted, according to the Supreme Court's Fisher ruling last June, parents, Christians, it seems like a lot of people were targeted for political reasons, and now there's going to be investigations and accountability because nobody is above the law.
It is Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org. Go follow him, MRDDMIA, over on social media. Mike, the Mar-a-Lago raid was disgusting. What law can be levied against the people that called for that? Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, whoever the hell it happened to be. And can you actually take it to the extent of the FBI office in Florida, the FBI office in D.C.? How far can that go? That was illegal from word go, and we all know that.
Yeah, and I would open a special grand jury investigation in the Southern District of Florida in the Fort Pierce Division where this Mar-a-Lago raid happened because it was not illegal for President Trump to have his presidential records in the office of the former president. That's allowed by the Presidential Records Act. But you had Jay Bratz at Main Justice teaming up with the Miami U.S. attorney who burrowed in and is still an assistant U.S. attorney and needs to be fired. And they concocted this scheme with the National Archives, with Gary Stern, the general counsel of the archives, and others, at the behest of Joe Biden, the president, with Jonathan Sue, his deputy White House counsel, greenlighting this unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful home raid on Trump for records he's allowed to have. And I would say this, we can start with an investigation under 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights, because when you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement against your political enemies for non-crimes, that seems to be the perfect definition for conspiracy against rights.
Now, I couldn't agree more. And here we're watching people again go on CNN and MSNBC every day, and he's trying to be a fiefdom. He's trying to be a dictator. He's trying to take over the government. He's ignoring the Congress. He's ignoring court orders. At the end of the day, these people know they were all complicit. I mean, Mike, when you heard that Politico got $8 million from USAID for these super subscriptions, and then there's another agency that had $140,000 in more subscriptions to Politico. I mean, at that point, Politico should just shutter the place and say, okay, you got us, right? They're still putting out stuff every day as if it's a journalistic outlet.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me that the government is funding these news organizations. What the hell do they need government funding for? And what are they doing in exchange for that government funding? It seems like that would be a journalistic conflict of interest. These are puppet journalists for the U.S. government. I mean, it's unbelievable to me.
But you and I have known that for a long time. CNN, MSNBC, the same thing. CNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. But they're all being exposed now. What I guess what gets me as a guy who used to be a television news anchor is watching them spin in circles trying to, we really are journalists. We really are the media. We really are independent. They're not. They haven't been for a very long time. And that's why when Trump shows up on Rogan or shows up on Theo Vaughn or whatever, that's why he did so well with younger people. People aren't relying on them anymore, which is a very good thing. But is there something legal at play here or illegal at play here for a government agency to pay an outlet like that? You know, they're getting, in return, they're getting favors. Is that illegal by any means, taking taxpayer money to buy Politico subscriptions?
Well, it seems illegal in this sense. Why the hell is Congress just delegating all of this money to this unaccountable agency, right? And then you have it where the president of the United States can't have the Treasury Secretary look into these payments from the federal government to these to going all over this slush fund for the elite in Washington, D.C. You have a federal judge actually saying that the president of the United States and his Treasury Secretary can't look at Treasury payments. That is unbelievably absurd. It is unconstitutional, and it is a clear violation of Article 2 of the Constitution that gives the president the executive power and the duty to take care that our laws are faithfully executed, including these appropriations. He has a responsibility to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
I want to clear something up, and I'm glad you went there. It's Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org and support everything that great organization does. MRDDMIA over on social media, too. When it comes to that payment to USAID, $38 to $40 billion a year, that money is coming from the continuing resolutions because they refuse to do a budget. But is it line by line? Do they know when they're saying give them $38 billion or $40 billion that it's going to go to Sesame Street in Iraq or allegedly go to Serbia's DEI program? Do they know what it's going to be, or do they just say, hey, here's a bunch of money, USAID, do whatever you want?
No, they give them a bunch of money, and that's the problem. They said, oh, these earmarks by Congress are terrible. Okay, what we're doing by getting rid of earmarks by Congress is we're taking away that power from our elected, accountable representatives and giving it to unaccountable bureaucrats who aren't even accountable to the Treasury Secretary and the President of the United States, apparently, according to this wacky judge's ruling.
Well, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit further. So Congress allots $38 to $40 billion to this. This is a nation-building, probably CIA front agency, this USAID. I think you and I would agree. John F. Kennedy didn't put it in place to do Sesame Street in Iraq. He put it in place to nation build and to change hearts and minds in communist, Soviet Union, whatever the hell was going on. But having said that, once the money is allocated by Congress, does the executive have the power through the Treasury to say, stop it, don't send one more payment? Does he have that ability to do that or not?
Absolutely. Even if Congress appropriates money, the president can stop that appropriation if there's waste, fraud, and abuse at a minimum. Mark Paoletta, who's the general counsel at the Office of Management and Budget, has talked about the issue of impoundments for a long time, that the president has a constitutional duty to take care that our laws are faithfully executed, including appropriations. If the president knows that USAID is giving money to our enemies, for example, or there's waste, fraud, or abuse, he has a constitutional duty to stop it under the Take Care Clause.
So when this judge says he doesn't have the ability, that he's overstepping his ability, the judge clearly is all wet. He just is an activist guy.
100%. And maybe some of these judges who have spouses who get USAID funding, maybe they don't want me to expose that, but maybe I will. Who knows?
Well, I'd like for you to expose that. It's Mike Davis, MRDDMIA over on social media. Always appreciate the time and the access. Biden blew off all the court orders. What Biden did, and I think that you probably enlightened me to this in one of our great conversations, what Biden would do when he got sued by like Andrew Bailey from Missouri, he would change a word or two words in something. They'd have to refile the suit, the whole forgiving loans is a real highlight for me, where the Supreme Court literally said you can't do it, but he and Cardona over in education kept on doing it. Now they're accusing Trump of doing what Biden clearly did. How rich is that, Mike? Do they just think that we're stupid? They must think we're stupid, right?
Well, here's the difference. Biden was stealing Congress's legislative power. Congress refused to forgive student loans. And Biden just did it by executive fiat. When the president steals legislative power from Congress or judicial power from the courts should step in. The issue is that President Trump, when he's making decisions whether there's waste, fraud, or abuse, or if he's making staffing decisions, hiring and firing, if he's making decisions about pulling foreign service officers home from USAID serving abroad, those are core executive decisions under Article 2 of the Constitution. He's not stealing another branch's power. The courts are stealing his executive power.
Well, exactly right. And USAID, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question here. They don't have the ability to tell the executive, you don't control us, do they?
I mean,
that's what they said.
I mean, that's the problem. This is they always say that we think we're conspiracy theorists when we talk about the deep state. Well, they're proving that they're the deep state. They are proving that they do not think they're accountable to the duly elected president of the United States as the commander in chief and the head of the executive branch, along with his Senate confirmed cabinet officials like the Secretary of the Treasury.
You know what I find interesting, and it's Mike Davis, article3project.org. Go follow him everywhere. What I find interesting is that those who are arguing against defunding all of this waste and fraud and abuse, none of them has said we're for Sesame Street in Baghdad. We're for Serbia to learn more about Libyan DEI. None of them are saying that. They're just saying leave it alone. One person 2 days ago, and I don't know who it was, I'll assume it was an idiot, said 6.5 million people will die from AIDS now in Africa because of what Elon Musk is doing. How do you respond to that? None of them are really going after what's being exposed. They're pretending like, how dare you touch the money for the better good of the world?
Because they know it's a slush fund for the elites, and they give crumbs to the peasants so they can do this money laundering scheme for the elite. They do it at USAID, USAID. They do it with Ukraine funding. I mean, it is look what Elon Musk and Doge has been able to do in like 3 weeks, exposing this waste, fraud, and abuse. Where the hell have the inspectors general been for the last decades? Where the hell has Congress, with oversight power and the power of the purse, been for the last decades? It's Elon Musk and Doge at Trump's order going in and finding this waste, fraud, and abuse. He's finding it very quickly with his data nerds, faster than Congress can find it, faster than our inspectors general can find it. And it's embarrassing to the deep state. They're getting caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and they don't like it. So they're trying to stop it.
Kennedy started USAID in 1961 by executive fiat, I believe. Can't Trump just get rid of it the same way?
Yeah, that absolutely. If you create something by executive order,
because I don't think Congress created it. I think Kennedy did himself.
Yeah, they're trying. The proponents of USAID say there was a statute that dealt with USAID, and then Kennedy created USAID by executive order. But I don't think that statute goes as far as people who are defending USAID thinks it does. And so if you create USAID by executive order, you can dismantle it by executive order.
Well, on the same sort of line here, $100 billion a year to it looks like $100 billion to education. That's just being stolen from the states, and centralized education hasn't worked. We're much dumber now than we used to be. I believe Jimmy Carter started that through an executive action too. Can Trump make that go away?
If it's started by executive order, it could be ended by executive order. Let's talk. One thing we want to talk about. We don't hear this enough. Remember, there was $180 billion that went to Ukraine, and Zelensky says he didn't see $100 billion of that. Where the hell did the $100 billion go that Zelensky did not get in Ukraine? This is the biggest money laundering scheme in human history.
So will heads roll or not? Because they're so, Mike, they're really insulated. They're like 5-6 levels of insulation. I understand that Elon and the dorks are getting to it very quickly. Trump is on warp speed. I get that as well. But it's still an uphill battle. Can they get through the 5 or 6 layers, if not more than that, and really get to the root of the problem? And then somebody should be in trouble. Mike, shouldn't somebody be in trouble?
Absolutely. And so what needs to happen, these lawless activist judges with their ex parte temporary restraining orders, these liberals are running to their liberal judges and getting in the middle of the night restraining orders. The Justice Department is not even allowed to brief the issue before these judges issue these ex parte TROs, and these judges are sabotaging the President of the United States' core Article 2 powers under the Constitution. And so The Supreme Court of the United States needs to be ready to step up and step up quickly on the emergency docket, because these activist judges are creating a constitutional crisis. And when the federal judiciary loses its legitimacy with the American public, the federal judiciary will lose its funding. And I would tell these federal judges, good luck doing your jobs without law clerks, for example.
Well, exactly right. And what's interesting to me is, as we watch this go on, and we can talk about Merchan, we can talk about pick a judge, what was her name, Shunkin or something in Washington D.C. Is there really no hell to pay for them? All right, I got overturned. Let's take the next case. Can't they be removed? Can't they be brought up on charges? This guy knows what he said was wrong, and now the entirety of the left is saying, what the judge said, the judge ruled, you have to go by the judge. The Supreme Court is going to overturn him, if not the appellate court. And what's the payback? The guy just gets to do another ruling tomorrow.
No, the payback is that federal judges and prosecutors and federal agents and other co-conspirators who violate the constitutional rights of Americans are subject to 18 USC Section 241. This is federal judges, state judges, local judges. The Biden Democrats ran a coordinated hit on President Trump, his top aides, and his supporters to try to take him out politically because they feared the American voter on November 5th, as they should have. And now there needs to be severe legal, political, and financial consequences to this illegal criminal conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. So this never happens again. Again, nobody is above the law.
Follow him everywhere, MRDDMIA, also article3project.org. Go and support everything that he does. Maybe a minute on this, Mike, and it sounds complicated, but I don't think it is. Robert Hur said Joe Biden was not fit to stand trial to be prosecuted. He said he was an old man with a bad memory, and he didn't really know what he was doing, but we don't see any jury convicting him, and you can't really prosecute the guy. He's incompetent to stand trial. Why, then, do we have to accept his pardons? Can they be challenged?
That would be hard to do. I'm actually of the belief that presidential pardons are very broad and absolute.
If he has his faculties, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the recourse would be, if you don't think he's fit to be president, you can use the 25th Amendment to say that he's incapacitated.
Okay.
But so long as he's the sitting president, whether he's mentally fit or not, he has all the powers of the presidency.
So his signature is on there, so those pardons are good. Do you think they'll still investigate, even though they can't? Well, actually, if you investigate and bring these people in, they can't plead the fifth. Maybe they get them on contempt.
Yeah, that's right. You can get them for contempt. You can get them for obstruction if they.
I don't want it to go away, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the deal. For example, separate from the criminal exposure that Biden may go away for his family, there is still a serious intel assessment that needs to be made by our intel agencies and the Justice Department, because we have evidence in the form of their bank records subpoenaed by House Oversight Chairman James Comer that $23 million went to what seems like every Biden family member's bank account. What were these corrupt foreign oligarchs paying for? What were they buying from the Bidens? I know the Trumps sell real estate. They put people up in hotels and restaurants. What the hell are the Bidens selling?
Well, you know what they're selling. They've got one product, and it's Joe Biden's influence. Mike, you're amazing. Always incredible information. Thank you so much. MRDDMIA on social media. Go and follow article3project.org. Support everything they do. Mike, come back soon. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.